Have you had experiences where you have to maybe set a boundary, but then having trouble because you want to be there to help a person or be that reliable dancer?
I mean, you still have to deliver. You still have to deliver the goods. I used to do the Letterman show a lot. I always felt like I was treated well. Same thing with 30 Rock. That what you see on the TV shows is how extras and stuff are treated, which hurts your soul a little bit.
So it's real.
That's half the battle. If you get hired, that's great. You're talented. You get hired again, you're talented and you're a nice person. People would maybe make plans and maybe not include someone who's 20, 25 years older than you are. And that would hurt my feelings.
What do you think it takes for someone to have that type of longevity and just reputation in the industry?
I think something that people don't realize.
Hello, welcome back. I wanted to take a quick moment to thank you so much for being here. Your support literally means way more than you will ever know. And good news, if you want to keep continuing to support the show, subscribing is completely free and it takes literally 3 seconds. This is the easiest way to support so we can keep growing, bringing in those amazing guests and just making the show better and better and better. So if you haven't yet, take a quick moment, subscribe below, and thank you so much. Let's get into the episode.
Welcome, Paula Leggett Chase, to Kicking It Real. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm delighted to be here, Gabby. Delighted.
I know.
We've already done a whole episode before we've started.
Yeah, we literally were just like, maybe we should actually just start this thing. We'll get right back into it. We're going to warm it up, though. What have you been kicking it with lately?
Like, what have I been doing?
What have you been like loving? Yeah, like what
have I been loving? I've moved to a new apartment.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I did not want to move from my old place that we had been in for 30 years, but things changed. We had to go. And so I'm wrestling this apartment to the ground little by little. And I am enjoying finding beautiful things, fitting and old beautiful things like me. I've been hunting down Facebook Marketplace, just finding old, interesting, beautiful things because everything I already had that I brought over here was at least 30 years old and a lot of times a lot older. I have a lot of antiques and things that, my Aunt Jules, who's your cabinet and things like that. I have a lot of stuff like that. And I love it. I guess that's what I've been kicking.
It takes a special eye too to piece all of that together. And especially, I don't know, for me, I'm like, I want everything to be done now, but it's hard to like really take the time to make it a home and special like that. I love that.
It is hard and you do want to hurry, but I also had to like be here and live here a little bit and figure out some things. The space is great and the light and it's peaceful and all of those things. But then to make it into, like, my kids will say, they're like, oh, this apartment's 5 different shades of white, dirty white. When are you going to make it chasey? That's what they called it. My oldest son came and gave him an engagement party for he and his fiance. And when they walked in and they were like, it's looking chasey. Isn't that funny?
You're like, yes. You're like,
yes.
I love, but you have a style. You have a brand. You have to uphold it. What are you kicking to the curb? So you're not loving, not doing.
You know what I'm kicking to the curb? Waiting in lines for inconsequential things. I am not waiting in a line for a bagel or a cupcake or a slice of pizza. I don't care how good it is.
Right.
I am not waiting in line for that. I don't like to wait in lines anyway because also I can't stand still. It's much harder for me to stand than it is to walk. I'm like, I actually will hurt. But no, I see that and I see people do it. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. It reminds me of that. Remember that Dr. Seuss book, The Places You'll Go?
Mm-hmm.
And there was one 2-page spread that had the waiting place where everybody is just waiting.
I feel like I'm wasting my life away when I do that. Like you said, I'm like, nothing can be that good unless it's a show or something. But I even saw
maybe something that really means something, like a cure for cancer or blindness or something that really, really has something. No way am I going to do that for some little thing to eat or just for the Instagram opportunity to say I bought this. Yeah. That's something I've noticed that bugs me.
I feel like I'm also realizing that sometimes those line places aren't even the best options. And if you can go find those hidden gems, especially in a city like New York, there are so many like hidden gems that are going to be way better anyways. Since I was planning this episode, I honestly was not in a bad way, like overwhelmed. I was like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. So I made a little rapid fire question to start us off too. So just like one word answers, and then
Lord and Taylor. Okay. All right.
It's not that bad.
Okay.
It's not that bad. Okay.
All right. Let me have a drink of water. Okay.
Yeah. Get hydrated.
Okay.
What would you say your one word is to describe Michael Bennett's choreography?
Energetic.
Good one. I love it. Most surprising or coolest person you've shared a stage with?
My gosh. I mean, there's so many people. I mean, that's really hard. I mean, you know what I'm going to say though, just because I loved him so much, David Hyde Pierce was an incredible star. He was in that. He was there and he led. He came around to the dressing rooms every single day. He was incredible on stage. He did what he did, which was really unique. He has this kind of quiet, deadpan comedy that he does. And I remember in particular, he had a party out at a place he and his husband were renting on Fire Island. And not only did he invite the whole cast and the orchestra and the crew, he invited front of house. He invited everybody and their granny. I mean, everybody. And it was extraordinary. So everybody felt very included in that. It's smart too.
That's what everyone says. It's people don't remember. I mean, they remember how talented you are, but they remember how you make them feel.
Yes.
Which Broadway show, if they called right now, would you want to do again?
Probably on the 20th century, because I could still do on the 20th century now.
Like I would be confident in that one.
I mean, there are others that like if I could reclaim my young body again, I would love to do a chorus line again.
You know what? I almost would have predicted that. I love it.
You use so much of yourself.
What role or show were you most nervous to debut?
Probably. Okay, this is dumb. This is going to sound really dumb. When I went into a chorus line on Broadway, they put me on first as Lois the ballerina. I started dancing in my mid-late 20s. And they just assumed, oh, Paula's been doing ballet since she was a little kid. So you're going to do this all really floored and all this and that. And I was like, I felt a little like an imposter in it. So that made it hard. And it's not even, I mean, it's one of the cut dancers at the beginning. Isn't that silly? But it was literally the very first thing that they put me on for, because I came in as a swing. I was a swing for 2 weeks. And then they just said, no, we're not doing this. We're putting you on all the time. And you're going to be Vicky Vickers. And then you're going to cover Sheila and you're going to cover Judy. And then like a week later, you're going to do Christine too. I don't know how that's allowed now. I mean, nobody asked me. They just said, this is what's happening. And I'm like, okay.
Also, it was your first. I don't know if maybe that had a little bit of like added pressure. So that's not, I don't think that's stupid at all, which we're going to circle back to that. Don't you worry. Favorite style of dance?
Ballet.
I love that answer. Hardest show ever done?
Curtains.
Which TV show was the most fun to be on?
30 Rock.
Okay, last one. Indiana or New York?
Oh,
rude.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Can't do it.
I can't do that. I mean, I live in New York and I have to live in New York and New York is home. But yeah, I am a Hoosier girl for sure.
Midwest girls. I love it. Well, let's take it back to that. So you grew up doing gymnastics, piano, singing, and like you mentioned already, you didn't start dancing until your late 20s and you were a voice major at IU. What was your original dream when you were going to school? And then when and why did dance start coming into the picture?
Okay, well, let me go. That's not totally true. I did have a tiny bit of dance.
Okay.
A tiny bit of dance when I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, went to this Jan's dance. And then I don't know if that closed or what happened, but I did a little little ballet thing. And then, but I was at Hajini's, and the Hajini's, They were circus people, and they had tap and jazz and ballet and acrobats, and acrobats was a big thing. And I'm like 7 years old or so, and my mom said, okay, this is too much. It was the kind of thing where I would like do the Charleston, and then you would change into some tap shoes and do flat peel within the hour. But then there would be a whole hour set aside for acrobats, because that's what the hot genies did. So just instinctively, I guess she said, okay, this is too much. And it was expensive, and we didn't have that much money or anything. So I took acrobats, and I was a tall, long, lanky thing. And I never was a very good gymnast, because they couldn't make the uneven bars wide enough for me. But I mean, that has stood me well. I still can do a back bend and come up. I can still stand on my head anywhere, anytime. There's certain things, of course, I can't do anymore. And I never was a great tumbler, all of that. But because that's what they did, I did that. And I took lessons through grade school. Once a week I would go to acrobats instead of once a week go to the tap and the ballet and the jazz in the first hour, and then the next hour would be acrobats. And I did acrobats, and I remember somebody in high school telling me, "Well, you're too tall to be a dancer." I remember that. Nobody's too anything to be a dancer. Anybody can be a dancer.
Oh, put that on a t-shirt. You would almost think acrobats are stereotypically shorter than dancers.
Please, look at that. Look at this.
I am impressed because I could never do a back bend. I did gymnastics for like 4 years, and my teacher finally had to say to my mom, like, maybe we should reconsider, because I was so afraid of going backward.
Maybe you did. Did you do it when you were little?
Yeah. Well,
really little?
Not like really. Maybe I was probably actually like 6, 7, 8. So that's pretty little. Yeah.
Well, then, it just wasn't meant to be. I mean, I loved to do all of that, and I was very bendy in my back.
So I feel like it did give you a decent foundation for
It gave me a foundation in that I knew how to work. I had great ballon. I could jump, but I had to learn to put my shoulders down. I had to get port de bras. I had to learn to turn. And, that's huge. That's huge. You have to learn to turn. You have to learn to turn really, really well.
When would you say you started taking dance training seriously?
When I came to New York, I would go into auditions, and they would look at me, and they would want me to be able to dance. And I could kind of fake some things. And I mean, I've told this story before, but I've had friends of mine who were behind the table early on. They would watch me, and even teachers at Steps, when I first started coming into some of these classes, they'd be like, "Oh, she can." Yeah, no, she can't dance.
And they're like, let us will it into existence.
It's like, whoa, I could do this grand jeté développé that was, lofted way, but I'm galloping heel first to get there to do it.
No.
Yeah.
Heel first. Oh.
You know what I mean? I didn't know how to use my feet. I didn't know. I remember doing my one and only in Atlantic City. I'm 26 by this time. And one of the guys in the show said, here, we were in the little gym, and he said, okay, here, do an attitude. And I'm like, okay. He goes, all right, now wing your foot a little more. He goes, oh, you got good feet, Paula. And I'm like, I do? Yeah. And I was like, oh, good,
Love that for me.
So I started with tap because I was really musical. So it was drums on my feet, right? And then people just started encouraging me. And I thought, oh, I'm going to do this. And also the first big audition that I went to in New York was Cabaret with Joel Grey, revival on Broadway. And I went to the singer's call in my dress and my heels and a good deal of makeup on, like we did at Indiana University. I think I sang, and this is my beloved or something. No, I didn't. No. Oh, that was the thing. That was for something at Paper Mill. I got typed out. I didn't get to do a thing for that. So a year goes by, right? It's running on Broadway. I'm doing some other little jobs. I've been taking class. I go to the dancer's call. I do all the choreography. I do all of the stuff. They have me do the two ladies stuff. And then they're like, would you come back and sing? And I'm like, yeah.
You're like, I already passed the hard part. Yeah.
And I came back and I sang, and I remember being so proud that my contract said dancer, singer, actress. That's how it was listed. I was like, it listed me as a dancer first. Now, later on, I realized that maybe you don't want to be in this pile because sometimes you're not going to be as respected, and we'll have to talk about that. So then it didn't even become about, after it didn't take very long, it wasn't even about getting jobs on Broadway. It was like, where have I been all of my life and how far can I take this? I feel like that was my master's. When I was on the road with Cabaret, we did mostly 1-weekers in every town I went to. And there were sizable towns that had ballet companies, Atlanta, Cleveland, Chicago, Vancouver. And I would find the ballet company. Back here, you looked it up in the phone book, and I look it up and I would call them and I would go to, they would invite me, I would go to company class. So I took class all over, got a real education at Boston Ballet. And then this is even after I'm working on Broadway. I would even come and take class in between shows. And I was doing Damn Yankees on Broadway. I'm like 33 years old now, but we tried out in San Diego and I took class at San Diego School of Ballet. And first I took the adult classes, but then when we were in previews and we were doing the show, I had to take the 14 and 15 years old and the young ladies. And that was humbling. The petite allegro, and they would do 20 million beats and reverse it. And I was a big tangled spider. And I was in ballet jail. I remember that. And she was on me all the time. No, it's this, you're not, every single little thing about port de bras, all of my angles, all of that. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of hating this. But my goodness, when I came back to New York and went into an open ballet class, I could dance. I could dance 3 and 4 pirouettes and I could fly.
It's reminding me of when you have a kid and you haven't seen them in a while, but when you see them every day, they don't look different, but someone else comes and then they're like, wow, you grew a lot. It's like you needed to go back to your original bowl, like sea of people. Do you feel like because you started late to dance, when you started kind of dipping your toes in and you had that encouragement from people, was it easier of the like ignorance is bliss? Was it normal for people to be starting dance late then? Or were you just like, oh, I'm just going to go all in?
It was not normal. And I always had a feeling of like, ooh, we are making hay while the sun shines. You're a Midwestern girl. You know that saying, right?
Yeah.
We are making hay while the sun shines because it's not going to shine for very long. I got that tremendous joy that you get when you have control over your body and your limbs and you really, really can fly, when you can really do that and you really have that technique. I found that joy, and I found it when a lot of people have gotten to the more cynical, they're starting to lose some of the skills. I was not. It was an amazing time for me. Probably some people found me annoying as I was, finding my way to doing it. There were people that were just like, oh my God, you're like tapping in the hall and you're like taking class in between, you're out of your mind. But no, I was compelled to do it. And by this time I was working. It just was for me to see how far I could go with it. And I loved it so much.
It's like you were ahead of your time you weren't necessarily doing it for the external, like you were doing it because you loved it and you wanted to get better.
And maybe it's just as well that, I had some of the suffering things that people have in dance. I have some of those memories from gymnastics of like, you're sway back, you're sloppy, you're loosey-goosey. I had some of those experiences, but nobody invested that much in gymnastics, at least of the hot genies, because I wasn't the right body for it. But I did learn how to work, and that being able to do those things and eliminating a lot of the fears that I think people that just are purely of dance training, a lot of the fears that we're going to throw you here, we're going to throw you backwards, we're going to do this. No problem. Tap dancing on a table with the lights in front of me and I can't see. Was I nervous? Yes. Am I afraid? Am I going to not do it? Of course I'm going to do it.
Fearless.
Yeah. And that's gymnastics.
That's such a great point for that. I do love that your Broadway debut was a chorus line, especially because the plot of a chorus line is so parallel to your journey of like fighting and the dancing.
Yeah, it did a number on me too. It made me really fear age because it is about age and it's about losing it. And the whole when BB says, "But I just got here." And I'm like, that's me. The first role I went on for, and I went on all the time, was Sheila. And she's jaded and she's been around, and that was very much not me. I did Judy the most, did it on tour, did Christine here and there covering it. And I've had people ask me to do Val and at one point to do a Maggie. Sheila was something that like came back in my life over and over. And also I desperately wanted to play Cassie when I went into the Broadway company. I desperately wanted, just let me cover it. They had 5 covers. We're like, we don't need another one.
Like, we're good. We're good. We need you elsewhere.
And then when I got offered to do it, it was one of the big summer venues. And I was like, I don't want to rehearse just 2 weeks and do it. I came in and they were like, okay, do Music in the Mirror. I said, yes, I will do it, but let me do the Sheila stuff for you. And I did. And they went, oh, okay. And I'm like, do you want me to do Music in the Mirror and everything? And they're like, sure. But they were sold already. They were sold. After a while, like that need to do it passed, like the Cassie thing, sort of like, I don't know, the time passes and then you're like, it's okay. Now it's all right. I'm past it.
Like, I've actually done a million other really cool things. You have this confidence and love and obviously reliability to have the career that you've had. What do you think it takes for someone to have that type of longevity and just reputation about them in the industry?
You have to have great desire, first of all, to survive it. Just to survive it. You have to have some little light inside of you that no matter what is said to you, what hurtful thing, and how many times you get knocked down, there's got to be some little thing in there. And I didn't know what I was going to be, but I knew I belonged here. And I knew I belonged on stage. And I knew I belonged on Broadway somewhere.
Chills.
Somehow. And I had to hold tight to that. So there's that. And then as far as like longevity and having a career, I think something that people maybe don't realize, and I think this is in any industry, any career, the people that you start out with are your peers and they are going to travel the road with you. I have tap danced and sat next to in a dressing room. I have worked with and partnered. I have worked with umpteen people as a fellow dancer and fellow performer who have become my choreographer, my director, my company manager, my producer, my playwright.
So cool though. Yeah. And like making those connections.
So you make those connections, but you're going to run into a lot of people that you're like, well, I'm going to leave them in the dust. I'm doing this, but that person that maybe isn't going to have an amazing career that goes on forever as a performer or something, it's very possible that they will go into some other area of the business. So this is a long way of saying, be nice, be respectful of everybody, makes everybody in the room feel comfortable with you. Nobody ever means to do crappy work. That's another thing too. Nobody ever goes out to do bad work. So be kind to your colleagues and everybody around. Be that person that everyone wants to work with. I just was doing this show with Rob Ashford and Tangier talking about someone that I performed with and then has championed me and hired me many a time. And there was a guy who was there and he was saying, if you were able to say to somebody, to a choreographer or something, like there's a problem, you're like, oh, this is a problem here. But if you can say, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. They're going to love you for that.
Like coming to people with solutions, not problems.
I mean, you're not going to do that with everything, obviously, because there's something have their attention. But another thing is too, I found like with some people that I've worked really well with, like Kathleen Marshall, you throw it out there. If she likes it, she'll keep it. If not, she'll tell you, and you don't get your feelings hurt. And you try not to, everybody wants all their kibbles and bits of like, oh, me. And are you seeing me? And is there enough of me? And you have to set all of that aside because it's about the whole. I mean, I know you understand that, especially from in the Rockettes, but you know, that spills over into other things too. Be part of the solution. Don't be part of the problem. Be someone that everyone feels comfortable and safe with, that they can let their hair down. Scott Ellis has said this, whenever I am casting a role in a show, I am actually casting 2 roles because I'm casting it on stage and I'm casting it in the room. There you
I
go.
love that because I think in general too, dancers and non-dancers forget that we all see a beautiful production on stage, but there is so much that is going on behind the scenes that is almost more important because I think most people want to perform to be on stage, not necessarily in rehearsals. So that's the fun part
Right,
everyone gets to
right.
see. Or, in an industry where I think we kind of touched on dancers maybe sometimes getting taken advantage of in certain ways. Have you had experiences where you have to maybe set a boundary, but then having trouble because you want to be there to help a person or be that reliable dancer?
Yes, there are some people that you have to work with and you have to deal with them, but you hold them at arm's length so they can't harm you. There are people like that. Some people, they are what they are. Chances are they're not going to last very long anyway. But that's half the thing. That's half the battle. If you get hired, that's great. You're talented. You get hired again, you're talented and you're a nice person. But as far as like boundaries and being a dancer, I had a director when I asked a perfectly valid question about what I was going to be expected as far as being an understudy when we got back into town. It was absolutely something I wanted to know, and I was valid in asking it. And he said, "Oh, don't worry your pretty little head about that."
My goodness. I don't what? I think we can just leave it at that. That's
Yeah.
okay. No further
Yeah.
explanation needed. Have you found that working in both theater and the dance world and then also in TV, is there a difference in how you were treated on the worst end of it? Obviously, there's been amazing experiences as well.
The most TV dancing experiences that I've had that were straight up, I used to do the Letterman show a lot. I always felt like I was treated well. I mean, it was hard work. Probably the times that I've had more questionable experiences have been in the theater world, but maybe that's because I've done more in the theater world.
It's more of the majority of people too, where I feel, on TV, it's actors and singers, maybe a little bit more than dancers in that space. So maybe the minority.
Whenever I did the Letterman show, it was always just a one day. I always felt that we were treated well on those things. And the other things that I've done that were TV that involved dance, I did Sound of Music Live, but that was Rob Ashford. It was lovely how we were handled and all of that. When I did the children's game show thing where in Time is Carmen Sandiego, I was a character, I was an actor on that. And the
Mhm.
same thing with 30 Rock and all of that. What you see on the TV shows is how extras and stuff are treated, which hurts your soul a little bit.
So it's real. All the many things that you're so good at and cool at. You have multiple identities, titles, whatever you want to call them, because you've, yes, done the dancing roles on TV, but also as actual actors with lines. Was that something you deliberately pursued to go do, or did it kind of fall into your lap? What was that journey like?
I did. I got a commercial agent and I started doing commercial calls. I also took a class for voiceover and did a little bit of that. And so I did pursue it. I took classes to do it. Around the time, I think when I was in Damn Yankees, I was kind of like, is that all there is? Not that it wasn't great. It was great. It was great being on Broadway, but I was like, what else can I do? What else can I
That
branch out here
curiosity.
and do? The curiosity. And also when when you're in a show and then the show is running and then you've finished the creative part of it. So now you're doing the show and you have that responsibility just to be fresh and deliver that 8 times a week,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So what are you doing for your creative outlet? I would still go to class and stuff, but Damn Yankees was an interesting show because I wanted to get in that show because my husband was the associate on it and we had just gotten married. And so I finally went to an open call and I got in it. But then when I was doing it, like dance wise, it's all about the men in that show. And I could
Mhm.
really, really dance. Remember, I was in San Diego doing that show and I come back and I can do all this stuff.
So now we're at our peak.
We're at this great peak and I have this tremendous amount of energy and I am not really ever dancing on stage like what I can do. Not at all.
What was San Diego for?
I had all of this as opposed to doing a chorus line and doing Crazy for You, which they were physically taxing shows. This was not. So I started getting back into my voice lessons again. I started taking acting classes and getting that going. The Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego thing, that happened. And then I worked with a casting director who offered a class that was not inexpensive, but I actually did her class twice. And both times after I took her class, I booked amazing things. So I booked recurrings on Law and Order, and then the recurrings on 30 Rock. I haven't been on Broadway since the top of 2020. That's mostly what I do. I've done some regional things, but the TV things are, everybody has to kind of cobble stuff together too, just to make a living. And acting is acting, but the technique is totally different. It's totally different what you do.
We were talking before we started recording about you can very much tell if a dancer doesn't have the technique. Can you tell when an actor doesn't have technique, and what would be some giveaways of that?
Yes, I can. Being grounded, being very direct, and being very, very simple. Sometimes not. I mean, you can do things, but there's some things you can get away with. They're kind of like playing a character, but not being grounded means, okay, if I'm talking like this, all of this around, but if I was going to talk to you, an actor, especially on the TV things, you're not blinking. It's very small. Somebody walks in the door.
Wow.
It's tiny. So there are those things, but also with a theater person, it's just, I can, but it's also because I've seen it a lot. And I think a lot of people can tell that. They may not know why, but they'll know, just a person who's not in the business at all is going to know, oh, I like that actor, but they won't be able to tell why or something of a theater person. But I actually got to sit behind the table at a replacement call for Damn Yankees, and, everybody's talented. But there were like different flavors of things. That was really a helpful thing. That's actually another subject. But when a good actor, a good theater actor comes in, I don't know how to say, there's a groundedness about it. You're not moving around. There's no extraneous movement giving it away. You can just see it. And they listen. They're actually listening to you. They're listening, and they are going to react from what you give them.
Yeah. It sounds like there's so much nuance of similarities in the grounded energy that you're describing that also makes a good dancer. But then I didn't even think about
no extra messy stuff. Yeah.
And the way you can bring nuance to it without adding. You can still do what you're being asked, but how can you give it more? But also so interesting. I never even thought about the scale of your movement and how, when a camera is right here versus when you're on a stage, everything has to be huge and big because you're projecting to so many people, which is, I guess, cool to do both.
On stage, it'll be bigger. It still has to be, there's big, and you can be big and honest. There are techniques. So anyway, that was a fun world to me to get into and to see what I could do.
Just be a beginner again too and learn. I'm sure they both complemented each other in a way a little bit, which is really cool. I love that you are with someone in the industry and then you got a mom title as well. But I wanted to talk about what that maybe cost you being both of you in the industry and having kids and trying to be great at both roles in your life without all of the coverage and the stability.
Well, here's the thing. I'm very, very fortunate because David is covered by the Musicians Union, 802.
Okay.
So we do family coverage under his insurance. There was a time where back when AFTRA and SAG were separate, I had coverage in all three unions. But I was young. I didn't have kids. And I was like, well, that's cool. But I would give my eye teeth for that now. I think it's very, very hard for two performers to do it because, here, think of all of the years, how many years I've been working on Broadway since 1989. And I've always qualified for insurance. I don't use it though. I qualify for it because it doesn't cover the family. It would just cover me. And so whether we had 1, 2, 3, 4 on David's family policy, it's all the same. So I think it's very, very hard for two actors
Yeah.
Very, very hard to dancers. It's super hard. As far as the other things, it's super hard anyway. And as far as like, being a good mother, I believe you can do it all. You just can't do it all at once. You can. I mean, there were periods of time in my life, I'm not going to lie, where I felt like I wasn't doing any of it very well. And there was also a period of time where my mother was of a generation that, it's best if you don't work, if you don't have to work. The men came home from World War II and they went back to work, and it's like, my wife doesn't work. That would be vulgar. So I come from like a generation of that, to where my mother was like, when I got pregnant, like, oh, so you're going to stop all of this now, right? So no, I mean, the leopard doesn't change her spots,
What do you mean? This is who I am. Yeah.
You do what you do. And that doesn't change. There is a part of yourself. I remember just going, oh, bye, Paula, bye-bye. And then in other ways, I wouldn't change it for the world. And if I had started a little younger, I might have had more children, quite honestly. I might have.
Do you mind me asking how old you were when you had your first?
35 and 40.
Wow.
When I had them.
And performing like you are.
And performing. Had miscarriages in between. Like in the dressing room. Not fun. But it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty brief time. And there's a kind of superhuman energy that moms get, a kind of maternal, that enables you to do things. Some people don't. Some people want to step aside totally and not do it. And I absolutely respect that. I did want to do it. I found a babysitter that actually did my whole schedule. She was this wonderful kind of hippy dippy, well-read lady, but I mean hippy dippy. And she spent the 60s on a motorcycle, and she lived in a rambling first floor West End apartment that she had had since 1970. And I was able to get this babysitter who then, wasn't in Brooklyn, wasn't far away from me. I don't have family here. I just assumed when I came in, I interviewed her and I said, okay, well, what part of my hours do you want to do? There are 42 hours of work here. What part of it do you want to do? She's like, I want to do your whole schedule. I'm like, I'm not going to get home until 11. That's okay. Brilliant. So I had that. That was really amazing. And I've always been jealous of people that have family around. And then just doing it, you appreciate your work in different ways. I can really be an obsessive person. Like, for this audition, I need to wear this, and this needs to be just so, and I should probably have this bracelet. After I had a baby, I was lucky that I showed up and had a lip on.
And you probably did better because you were
I probably
obsessing.
did, because you weren't obsessing about it. You don't have the energy or the time for that. And the other thing that happened too, people like, oh, we're going to play softball, we're going bowling, we're doing this. And I'm like, no, this is it. This time here at the show, this is my
take it all in.
This is my social, this is it. Something that's been kind of fun is I was almost 60 when I was doing Tootsie. And every single woman in that show, except for the wonderful Julie Halston, who I was there to understudy, they all could have been my daughters. And I mean, quite legally and quite, not obscenely.
Reasonably.
Quite reasonably. So since that time, several of these women and other women that I worked with in other shows too have had babies. And they've reached out to me too. And they're like, Paula, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I've also helped people too. I remember when a friend of mine, this is years ago, but she had gotten a call. She had just had a baby, like 6-7 weeks old, right? Just out of the box. And she gets a call to do a Christmas carol at Madison Square Garden, which was something that was happening yearly at that time, Susan Stroman. And she asked me, she's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I need to ask them about what the dressing room is going to be and how I can do this with the baby and as far as nursing and everything. And I said, you know what? If you want to do this, everybody's going to say, oh, yes, we're down with it. It's so great having kids. We love them. It's wonderful. But when it really comes down to it, they're not going to get it. And if you want this job, you say yes, and then you figure it out.
Yeah.
I said, trust me, because you're going to scare them. And I think things are changing now. Things are starting to change more. This is quite a while ago. This is back in the maybe 2000, something like that. Things are changing. I would call theaters, like when I had KIR, I dragged that baby all over the country to different theaters.
Cool life he had.
I did not have anybody with me. I don't recommend it. It was really hard. I got different babysitters in the different places that I went to. And sometimes I would call the theaters and I said, can you just give me contacts? And then I would figure it out.
Mhm.
And there were things like the Muni said, we will fly your child a nanny. That's amazing. But most of the time, it's not like that.
Things are changing, but you were doing this in a time where your literal mom was like, okay, we're not working it. Like, just that trailblazer,
Yeah.
and not only in a more normal industry than performing, but just even in that.
Right. Something that works with, that we have the same days off as everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, you can just 9 to 5 and then that's their job. So, I mean, I think that gives me, someone not even performing, I know it's a conversation I've had with a lot of people when they're thinking about having kids, and it feels like you have to pick one and you can't keep pursuing what you're doing. It's probably gonna be really reassuring to a lot of people listening that you can make it work, and women are awesome.
You can make it work, and you're never gonna feel ready to have a baby either, honestly. I mean, but it's also for dancers, it's an amazing time. It's an interesting subject now that people are talking about our work hours, what it is. And I've had mixed feelings about it because I will say that when I had young children and I was doing 8 a week, and I mean, particularly, I remember like doing curtains and how I covered 3 people in it. There have been times where I've had a principal role and I'm covering a bigger principal role. So when you have like understudy rehearsals you have to go to and you're doing 8 a week and you have kids, and it's really, really a difficult time. I mean, there were times that I went to work sick
Mhm.
because I knew that if I had a sick child, I was going to have to be home with that sick child. So there are things that you do like that. And so the conversations now, like they're saying we should only do 5 a week, or part of me that irks me because I'm like, I did it. I did 8 a week. And that's what we do. There's that. But there was that time that I would have been happy to share a role with somebody. I would have shared everything except shoes and skivvies. I would have been happy to share all of it. I would have taken half pay. I would have taken half insurance even. I mean, it's not ideal, and you need the insurance. So that's a big thing to talk about. And it would be a different thing if Actors Equity, you could get family coverage and you can't. And the other thing, this is something that I saw in a post. Somebody was talking about the styles of the shows. The cast gets smaller. We are asked to do more and more. You can't even find a Broadway baritone because if they exist, they have been trained to get up in their tenor range because things aren't written for that anymore. And they were
Yep.
also talking about shows like West Side Stories. The character Maria singing that show, a legit sing 8 times a week, is not the same as Wicked, or, and that's an old show now, but just like what the shows and everything are out there, what the demands are physically and vocally on people, it's different. It's not the same as it was.
I think that dancers, singers, performers are like lumped into this category of like, well, you're doing what you love, and you should be grateful for this opportunity, and you're just going to take whatever and deal with these circumstances and situations. Or is it
Right.
you keep the same amount and you get better pay and better insurance so you can offset other parts of your life?
I don't know what the answer to it is. We went to see Ragtime the other night. It was breathtakingly expensive. I think the most we've ever paid for tickets. The show was wonderful. It was great. Again, it's the most we've ever paid for tickets. Tickets are really, really high. Broadway is really, really expensive. I remember it well. It was a hard time being a mother and doing it. It was hard. On the other hand, I am an 8 a week creature. It's the only thing that I know. But I am glad that we're having these conversations because I remember feeling very lonely. Also, when I was the only mother in a cast, too.
Even just trying to empathize with people that do, you can't even, because
Yeah.
I think that's, something I'm aware of the change it does to your body and your time and your life.
I mean, you still have to deliver. You still have to deliver the goods. It's all of that. But yeah, that balance thing, and we're having children later because we want to do a few things. If you're having children, or whatever it is, it's a journey. But here's the other thing too, like about like performing as far as aging and all of that, and also becoming a mother and all of that. If you go like performing, you're only going to have more to give, because when you live more life, if your life is nothing but this in the business, then that's it. And you can be precise, and you can do the things, and you can have the technique. But if you live a little life, if you've got a life, have a life. Don't forget the life. Don't forget to make a life.
I remember being in college, and one of my professors quite literally said, go to parties and get drunk, like go live your life. And it's so hard when you're in the moment of, you have to be focused, but you also have to live a life. So if someone's feeling that way, of motherhood aside, but just even the living the life and that fear of needing to control.
Even so, let's say motherhood is not in the cards. And that's my journey. Let's say it's not, but you have to make a life. You have to make a life, whether it's the group of friends that you put together, it's some organization that you join and you support, and you're very active with them or something. When it's Thanksgiving and it's Christmas or whatever, and let's say your family is far away, or your family's gone, or you need to go to the hospital or have some tests made or something, you need to go do something and have someone pick you up. Who are you calling? Who are you calling? Who are those people? Who are your tribe? Make a life. Join those people or gather those people. I think some of the university programs and everybody, is so competitive and what they're doing. I can't quite even imagine what that's like. When I was in school, I knew I wasn't going to be an opera singer. I knew that wasn't going to be my thing. So I didn't feel pressure to be that. I just got the training and said, yeah, I'm never going to be able to do that, but I can do a lot with that.
Yeah, what else can I use this for?
Right. But you want to be focused and do your work and do all of that. But make sure, because if you don't live a life, you're pretty empty and you don't have anything to bring to the room or to bring to the table. You have so much more when you have all of that to bring.
For me, my outlet in New York was actually stemmed from my husband, because he wasn't in the industry. And I look back to my time auditioning, and I'm like, I would have gone crazy. Like, it was so nice to be able to hang out with someone and not think about it, and think about life and do other things, which is in the same vein of
and make that be small and not such, the huge things.
Yes.
Because let's face it, the business is brutal. It's brutal. There are wonderful joys and highs that come from it, but from every single one of those, there are also lows. And I think really when it comes down to the end of it, I'll be proud of everything that I've done, but all of it without the people and the people that you love and everything around it, it's really nothing. It really is. I think that's really important. Back to when we were talking about waiting in lines, we have a thing that we used to say. Well, I still say it. I'm like, oh, okay. Are we going to get up and go do this, or are we going to just sit around and cry? And so, you could live your life like, I'm going to make that phone call. I'm going to do that little effort that maybe makes me a little bit uncomfortable, or I can just sit here and cry.
That is so good. I'm going to start using that when I'm putting something off that I don't want to do.
I'd say that to my kids. I go, do you want to sit around and cry? And that's how it came out. We could sit around and cry, or we can put our shoes on and our coats, and we can go out and
do the thing.
Yeah.
I love that. You have so much experience, obviously, and you've lived through so many different eras. And obviously, you were using a phone book back in the day to now you can post on Instagram and social media. I'm sure you've seen a huge shift in that, and whether it's getting work or almost people being their own publicist in a way, I feel.
Totally being their own publicist. I think it runs the gamut. I think it's good and bad. I think there's a lot of kind of schlocky me out there that's like kind of a waste of time. And then I also think there's a great platform, to see some people that are really genuine and have amazing gifts and put that out there. And some people totally making a living off of it. During the pandemic, my youngest son, Dashiell, was like, you should post something on TikTok. And I'm like, what's that? And so he shows it to me, There was nothing else going on. We all had to get off the hamster wheel.
So many people started their social media during that time. They're like, well, make a video.
Right. So, and then these things just kind of blew up because they were happy and they were joyful and I enjoyed it. It was a sense of fun, but then the work started coming back. And like in the real world, the work starts coming back. So I'm doing that and I still do it a little bit, but then there were things like, oh, here, like this company, will you do this and make reels? All of that. I never took money from anybody ever. I said, you know what? I mean, even early on, I was like, oh, just send me a bathing suit and I'll do, I'll make something or whatever. But then it just, all of a sudden I thought that's for me, because I'm not going to judge for me. Like, I don't want it to be that. I don't want it to be that. I think I'm just of a generation, it's past. And I think there are opportunities and I've even had opportunities from it. I don't think, what the main thing that's happened for me is when I go to something and I'm working on some project or whatever, young people will know me that wouldn't have any idea just because of that,
You're like, I don't know how to feel about that.
I mean, it's okay. There's always, I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm doing Tootsie and I come in and I know a couple of these people. I know, but a lot of them are really young and I haven't worked with them before. And I'm here and they don't know me. They don't know anything about me. And there were things like we went to Chicago to try out, people would maybe make plans and maybe not include me because, well, she's generation. I get it. A generation older, a big generation, a full out generation, not a showbiz 5-year, 10-year, someone who's 20, 25 years older than you are, right? But not even maybe think to ask me if I want to do this or include me on something, and that would hurt my feelings. Also, I consider myself a fairly humorous person, and all of my little jokes and references, they had no idea what I was talking about.
Oh no!
So there,
it's the worst.
So there was
land.
that,
Yeah.
So there was that. And then one day we're in rehearsal and I think it was a dance rehearsal and we were paired up and then we were doing things one by one. They had no idea. And all of a sudden it's like I went to chunka conka bam, and I did something and it wasn't all that, but you didn't expect it out of the 60-year-old, right? And all of a sudden they went, Paula. They look and they're like, oh my God, she did this and she did that. All of a sudden it's like one day I was in and then it was great and they've been lovely to me. And not that they weren't nice to me. It was just this kind of thing. Once you're a lady and you reach a certain age, you kind of become invisible. And in a lot of ways that invisibility is kind of great on the street. Nobody's like,
We're going to leave you alone.
Whistling at me or saying whatever. You don't have that. But also when you go into a room, sometimes you can be kind of invisible and it can take a little while to get there.
Which is so interesting.
It is. I don't fault them because it's okay. It's what it is because they do get there and you just have to be patient. And I loved them and I learned things from them. They learned things from me and I learned things from them. And I had to be careful because sometimes they would try on my nerves because I am at the get off my lawn stage of life. I'm older and I don't have a lot of patience for things.
Yeah, but you've earned the right. You're doing good because I already feel like I don't have patience for anything.
Sometimes you just go, life's too short.
But that's the cool part too. I always, honestly, almost at any setting, I always gravitate towards someone older than me because I'm like, tell me, give me the secret sauce. I want to hear the stories. So also to someone listening, don't count out someone that's older than you.
You're a bit extraordinary, darling. That's what I would say.
So honored. Oh my goodness. Hindsight is 2020. But if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would you say to her?
If I could give, always look on the positive side. Don't think somebody's out to get you and don't take it personally. Sometimes things are so hurtful that we experience as performers. And a lot of times it's just business, baby. It's just business.
That's why they say.
And so don't let that rob your joy. Don't let that make you turn into someone that nobody wants to be in the room with. Don't let anybody railroad you. Don't let anybody abuse you in a way that's unseemly. But some things happen and you just have to go okay. And the same thing with like auditions and stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to loop this around to when I got to sit behind the table at Damn Yankees. That was an eye-opening thing. And I had been working, right, for quite a while by this time. And they were replacing one performer. And all these guys came in. They were all really talented because at that level, everybody is really, really talented. And I sat there and I watched that and I went, oh, it's not about that this person needs to go work on that a little more, or they need to work on that a little more. This was so specific. And there's so much that isn't in our control. They were all talented. They were all wonderful. There was one person who fit. One person that fit. That was a really great thing for me to see and understand, because sometimes you go to an audition, you know, if you've tanked and you need to work on your skills or something like that. But otherwise, there's so much that is out of your control. Let that go. I would say that to my younger self. Be in control of what you have and hold on to that confidence, and don't let it make you be unkind, not be positive. Hold on to your joy.
It seems like you've done a pretty good job of that too, which is nice.
With age and time, and I've done something right that I've been able to hang on. But when you're younger, it's hard.
If there was one takeaway for listeners that they remembered from our conversation today, what would it be?
Live with joy. If it's not fun, don't do it anymore.
I love that. For people listening right now, they can pull out their phones. I will link this on the show notes, but where can they find you and follow you and keep up with you?
You mean on the social? Well, you can find me on the, you can find me in Morningside Heights all the time.
Don't give your address away.
Here. You can find me. I'm Paula Leggett on Instagram, Antique Showgirl, Paula Leggett Chase on TikTok. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, we'll find you. We'll find you around.
On PaulaLeggettChase.com.
You guys can go on that and then like scroll through all of the credits that I was talking about at the beginning of the episode.
And the things I haven't updated. Naughty. I need
technology.
to do that.
It's fine. Whatever. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and sharing so much inspiration and knowledge. If you're listening, go follow Paula, like, subscribe, comment, and tell us what you like the most. And thanks for kicking it with us. We'll see you next time.